The McCain-Palin ticket is bracing for what could be an embarrassing report. Lawmakers in Alaska are expected to release the results of an investigation into possible abuse of power by Governor Sarah Palin in the so-called TrooperGate inquiry. The New York Times reports today that Palin, her husband, and her administration repeatedly pressed for a state trooper's dismissal. CBS News correspondent John Blackstone is in Anchorage with the story. John, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Julie. Well, when the TrooperGate report is released later today, it will show that since Sarah Palin became governor, her husband Todd repeatedly and frequently had conversations with government officials, all aimed at having their former brother-in-law, state trooper, thrown off the force. Since Sarah Palin became candidate for vice president, Todd Palin has resisted testifying in the TrooperGate investigation. But in a sworn statement, Palin admits, "I talked to many people in the Palin administration about Mike Wooten, a trooper divorced from Sarah Palin's sister. I warned about the threat this guy was to me and my family." In the affidavit, Todd Palin says, "I repeatedly expressed my frustration about Wooten." It all contradicts the impression Palin gave last summer of making a single complaint about Wooten.
Just the one time, just letting them know that the public's concern and our concerns.
At the same time, Governor Palin denied those concerns had anything to do with her firing of Wooten's boss, Walt Monaghan, the Commissioner of Public Safety.
But absolutely no pressure ever put on Commissioner Monaghan to hire or fire anybody at any time.
Monaghan, though, says he believes he was fired because of Wooten. Although the trooper has a disciplinary record, Monaghan said in a phone interview last night he's not a bad cop.
Nobody likes to work with a dirty cop. No one.
Monaghan calls Todd Palin's view of Trooper Wooten distorted.
Todd is, in fact, the fact that he says he's been campaigning to talk to just about anyone or everybody about Wooten speaks to the level of his passion, or maybe in this case, obsession in the case.
Now, Todd Palin insists there was nothing improper in his conversations. He says Sarah Palin wasn't involved. In fact, he claims that she told him to stop talking about Trooper Wooten. Julie?
We'll see what the report says today. CBS's John Blackstone in Anchorage. Thanks, John. Maggie.
Joining us now is Bob Schieffer, CBS News chief Washington correspondent and host of Face the Nation. Bob, good morning to you.
Good morning, Maggie.
I'd like to ask you about TrooperGate. Do you think that this will be just another distraction from the important issue of the economy, or something that could really have an impact on this election?
It's very difficult to say. This economic situation is so overwhelming, Maggie. It's all anybody is talking about. And out on the campaign trail, both of these candidates are making all these charges one way or another. But it all comes back, it all seems like such small potatoes when you come back to this situation that we're seeing developing in these financial markets. I think the issue in this campaign, all anybody is talking about, is this economy. I think that's what's going to have the overwhelming impact. The other things might be minor questions that'll come up along the way, but I don't see this campaign getting off this the economic questions here.
We've seen so much nastiness this week in the campaigns, and you asked voters, and it's a turnoff. You're right. All they want to hear about and talk about is the economy. So do you think that we'll see those negative ads and all those controversies fade, that the campaigns will both finally say, we got to focus solely on the economy?
There is no question, Maggie, that the McCain campaign would like to change the subject. From the moment that this economic situation developed, John McCain began to go down in the polls in some of these very key states like Virginia, North Carolina, Ohio, and Florida. He would like to make this election a referendum on Barack Obama, Barack Obama's character, Barack Obama's experience. But I think, again, it's going to be very difficult to get people's minds focused on that with this economic situation the way it is. This thing is just overwhelming, Maggie. We've never seen anything quite like this.
So true. I know that you're preparing for two things, Face the Nation this weekend and to host the last presidential debate next week. Can you give us a taste of what you're planning for both?
Well, for the debate, I'm really going to try to get them to answer the questions. I'm going to be very specific. I'm going to try to get them to follow up. We'll have about 10-minute segments, about 8 or 9 10-minute segments. I hope we can stay on each issue until we can get down and find out where they really come out on these things. I'm going to try to get them to ask the follow-up questions. If they don't, then I'll bore in. On Face the Nation coming up Sunday, we're going to have Governor Bill Ritter, Democrat out in Colorado. Most people on both sides say that unless Governor Ritter, unless John McCain can carry Colorado, he will not be able to get to the White House. We'll talk to him. Lindsey Graham, who of course is Senator McCain's main man in the Senate, will be with us, and also Doug Wilder, the former governor of Virginia. We'll have another Republican along the way from one of those key states.
All right, Bob Schieffer, always appreciate you being on with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie.